And we have liftoff. Yes. Yes, we have liftoff. I better just going to do the old share around, guys. Hope you guys are alright. Thanks for you joining me in chat. Okay. I'm going to share this on which one? I'm going to share this on my usual groups. Oh, I know I've got a couple of extra groups to share this on too. Because the theme. Where is it? Hang on. Oh, thanks, Della. Come on. Oh no, my browser's hourglassing. Oh dear. Sorry guys, won't be a moment. While I'm waiting, I will. Oops. What's happening now? Right, share to group. I'll share to that group. All my usual ones. Hope you all guys are alright. And share to this group. I think I moaned about this last night, but it'd be nice if there was some kind of app that would just do this automatically. You just put a list of everything you want to share to, and it just does it automatically. It must be possible to write some kind of app for that. There's loads. I'll share it on the Rich Planet group because I think they'll be interested in that. I might have to approve it myself. I am a mod on there. I might have to approve it. Do I have to approve it myself, or does it just do automatic because I'm on admin? I don't know. But I know some people on the East Anglia UFO page are interested in it. Now, I wouldn't normally share this on a UFO page, and if someone wants to delete it, that's fine. I just thought, well, I'm gonna post it because I know a lot of the members. There's another thread on that. And of course, I'll share it on Razza's group. They're going to love that. There we are. And of course I'm going to share it on Twitter. Hey. Thank goodness for... Elon will be... I don't know what Elon will think about me talking about space. Hang on. Whoops. I've already shared the show notice. There we go. And now I shall go to the chat box and say a big hello to everyone who's there. I'll be in this sec. Just a sec. I'm just going to do this. I want to say a big hello to Jamie Howe. Have we lost Art Bell nearly 5 years ago? I remember Art Bell died, yeah. Christopher Doyle, blast off, yeah. Martin Saylor, user one, of course. Maybe stick to the dragon juice. That's all I've had, mate. Good evening, Investigates with Nick. How you doing, Nick? Max Q, greetings. Max Q says, SLS is now the most powerful rocket ever. When SpaceX launched Starship for its first test flight in a few weeks, the crown will go to them. It being twice as powerful as SLS and fully reusable. Yeah, Max Q, that could go to Mars. I mean, there's a video about how they could send people to Mars on that. Yeah, R.I.P. Art Bell. Yeah, Art Bell. He's my hero. I mean, he's inspired me when I started doing shows. Hello, Della Farrant. Hello. The lights were low. Hello, David. Splendid isolation. How do you do, all of you? Anyone else up there? I think that's it so far. Welcome, all of you. Now, first of all, how many of you got up and watched it? I sort of set my alarm just a quarter of an hour before it was due to take off. I set my alarm at 6:30 normally on this day because depending on what work I've got, I often get up at 6:30 anyway. So I just got up a little bit earlier and I watched it. It worked. After so many delays, I mean they've had a lot of bad luck, and you could see that the people in the mission control were very relieved. They were very happy that when they gave it the final 10 minutes. Diego Rivera, you saw it. Cool. Yeah, it was. I'm glad I did. I was glad I did. I mean, yeah, the voice of radio. Art Bell was an absolute hero in this field for anyone who broadcasts in the medium of radio, especially if you're into UFO, paranormal, conspiratorial subjects. Yeah, it's Yeah, Max Q said it'll go to Mars and take 100 people per flight. 1,000 starships are being built. Yeah, I mean, we could be looking at a Mars mission at some point. That's something maybe we talk about at a certain point. I personally think that people have already been to Mars and to the Moon. Not just like the official story of moon landings. I think, which we get into. I'm talking about like probably many more people have actually been to these places on with the secret space program. But yeah, I got up and I thought, is it going to? Because they've had bad luck. They've had technical problems with the rockets. They've had bad weather. On 2 occasions, they had to scrub the launch for bad weather. But has anyone not seen it? Has anyone not seen it? Because I can show it to you. We can watch it if you like. TK, what happened then? The rocket launched. It took off. It's in space. Hello, David Schultz. How do you do? It is in space. It's the last time I checked, it was 55,000 miles from the Earth. And yes, I think it really is. Now, someone else was mentioning... Who was mentioning the flat earthers? I think it was someone... I think it was David. David Splendid Isolation. Hello, David. Yeah. Someone wanted to bring up the possibility that it was faked, because the flat earthers are probably saying it's faked. There may be those of us who question the official story of space exploration who are claiming it's fake. I don't personally. I do question the official story of space exploration, but I don't have any reason to think this is not a real mission. I have no reason to think this is not real. If anyone's not seen it, should we watch it? It'll be fun to watch. I've got it here. I'll probably get a third-party strike, but I don't care. Here we go. Where is it? Here we are.
Dialed in. They are now at the right temperature for launch. Countdown continues. T-minus 4 minutes, 15 seconds.
What's this? It looks like a fire in the background. Probably Max Q would tell you. Max Q will probably tell us what it is. But there's some kind of. It looks like a gas flare or a fire in the distance there.
Next, GLS fires up the KPUs. Those are high-speed turbines which provide pressure to hydraulic pumps that steer the RS-25s. Stands for Core Stage Auxiliary Power Unit Start.
GLS is go for Core Stage APU start.
That now leads to the...
Oh, I love the comments here. I wonder if they'll show us structures on the moon. Based. There's some based people there.
Control test at T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That can proceed now, and we will see the engine's gimbal at the bottom of the core stage.
Over 64,000 people watch this. This is just one of the platforms.
At T-minus 3 minutes and 10 seconds, you will hear the go for Purge Sequence 4. That's a helium purge of the 4 core stage engines downstream of the propellant valve, getting the air and moisture out.
I tell you what. If you want to know what he's talking about, watch Scott Manley. Scott Manley's channel is very. He talks about how these rockets work, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting indeed.
GLS is go for Purge Sequence 4.
And in just a few seconds, GLS will close the core stage LOX vent, liquid oxygen.
I saw this morning. This is 6 a.m. our time.
Gaseous oxygen
where I am.
In the atmosphere will disappear. You see it coming out there now. And there it goes. It's closed. LOX vent closed. Pressure rising in the core stage LOX tank to flight levels. Coming up in 15 seconds. Look for that thrust vector control actuator test. Engines will gimbal.
Well,
And there they go. The 4 core stage RS-25 engines gimbaling around, testing the ability to steer the rocket into space.
That's how the rocket controls its direction. That's how it steers.
They will operate at 109% performance. Each RS-25 throwing down 500,000 pounds of thrust. All 4, 2 million pounds. All together with the boosters, 8.8 million pounds of thrust.
GLS scope for upper stage to internal power.
Now the upper stage has gone to internal power.
It's exciting, isn't it? I
Power
mean,
is
it's
removed
real,
from the rocket's upper
really
stage,
dramatic.
the ICPS, and it's been switched to battery power. The same milestone is coming up for the core stage at T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds.
GLS scope for core stage to internal power.
The rocket's core stage, which houses the 3 flight computers, is now on battery power. So there is no more hold time available because there's no more margin on the batteries. So if we have a hold, we'd have to recycle back to T-minus 10 minutes and recharge those batteries. The count continues. A note now, shortly after liftoff.
1 minute.
Shortly after liftoff, Mission Control Houston will take control of the rocket, and my colleague, Leah Cheshire, will take over commentary. T-minus 50 seconds and counting. Coming up at T-minus 33 seconds, the GLS will hand off control to the ALS. This is the autonomous launch sequencer. On board the rocket, it will take over command and control of the rocket. But the ALS will check, make sure there's no holds coming from the ground up until T-minus 2
GLS
seconds.
is go for ALS.
And we are go for ALS. The Space Launch System is now counting down to liftoff of Orion on its maiden voyage to the moon. Launch team can no longer recycle the count. Sound suppressor water now flowing
15.
under the ML. And here we go.
10.
Hydrogen burn-off igniters initiated. 7, 6, 5. Core stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters ignition. And liftoff of Artemis One. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
All 4 RS-25 engines on the core stage and 2 solid rocket boosters now propelling the vehicle at 128 miles per hour. Hearing good control on the roll from teams in Mission Control Houston. All good calls so far. Now 30 seconds into the flight of Artemis 1. First milestone will be for the vehicle to pass through max Q at about 1 minute and 9 seconds into launch. This is the greatest period of atmospheric force on the rocket.
There were loads of people watching, even though it was late at night. There was loads of people watching in the spectators area.
You're looking at 8.8 million pounds of maximum thrust. Quiet here in the loops in Mission Control. 4 core stage engines throttling down ahead of passing through max Q. Now 1 minute, 21 seconds into the flight, traveling at 1,420 miles per hour. The 4 core stage engines are back at maximum thrust. The next major milestone will be for the solid rocket boosters to cut off and jettison about 2 minutes and 11 seconds into the flight, so about 30 seconds from now. Again, quiet here in Mission Control Houston as teams continue monitoring the flight of Artemis 1. We're now 16 miles downrange from the launch pad.
Well, I think that's enough, isn't it? Let's see what Artemis 1 is doing now. Let's see, there probably will be a live stream because there's cameras on board the rocket. There I am. Where is it? Oh, well, I saw some. Here we are. Right, no, that's a trans-lunar injection. All right, because that sooner after it got into orbit, it went to a live tracker. Here we go. What's it doing now?
What is that?
Oh, shut up. No skip button. Oh, okay. Because it's last time I heard it was a few hours ago. They were saying it's 55,000 miles from the Earth. Oh, look. It shows you where it was. 81,120 miles from the Earth. That's its velocity there. 4,348 miles per hour. That's the distance to the Moon. 14 hours. That's mission time elapsed. Okay, guys, that's quite something, wasn't it? That was quite something to behold. There was actually a I've come off there. I don't know how many of you have ever read Arthur C. Clarke, but he's a very, very interesting writer. Arthur C. Clarke wrote he's very good at short stories, and he wrote a short story called Royal Prerogative, and it's a futuristic story like many of them, and there's a space pilot who flies an anti-gravity spacecraft, and he's sort of lamenting about he feels this sense of nostalgia over the drama of a rocket launch, what we've just witnessed now, because he says very easily, anti-gravity spacecraft aren't that exciting. They just sort of float up into the air and they go and they fly over. They just fly away very quietly. No, but a rocket going off is really dramatic. You have the countdown and everything. Funnily enough, that actually took place in science fiction long before the space program. Fritz Lang wrote. He directed a film about a German film about a trip to the moon in the 1920s, and it was a silent movie, and it had that same dramatic. That same dramatic sequence where the rocket gets wheeled out of the hangar upright. Then you have that countdown 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and that's actually some people claim that NASA adopted it because of that, because they were inspired by that film, that system before it. So yeah, I will have missed a few of your comments while we were watching that. Maybe I'll go back and I won't be able to read every single comment. I'm sorry about that. There's just too many. But you guys, Della. Okay, no problem, Della. Della's sort of juggling two things at the moment. That's actually okay. You can always watch the recording. TK, I thought they had black operations all over space with super soldiers. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves there, TK. But yeah. Captain Lockheed says on TV News, the main aim is to test if it's safe to send humans to the moon. Well, they're supposed to have already done that, and indeed they have, using technology they haven't revealed to us. Hello, Captain Lockheed's here. Welcome, Captain Lockheed. Now, Max Hugh says the SLS is a white elephant and complete waste of money. However, it sure took off. I was there. The rumble was off the scale. The fire burning off hydrogen. That's boiling off the tanks. I see. That's what those sparks are for, and that's what the big fire was for, was it? Right. But you were there in the audience, were you, Max? Oh, great. That's I've never seen a rocket launch for real life. Must be quite something. We don't actually launch rockets from this country, unfortunately. SpaceX will build the lunar landers. That's right. They've it's different to the Apollo system, where everything is just carried on board the on board the Saturn V rocket. They're actually sending some things independently to put into lunar orbit before, and then there's going to be a kind of space station around the moon, and the Orion capsule will actually dock with the space station, and then there'll be a descent to the moon from there. Which indeed is how Arthur C. Clarke envisioned it, which is very interesting. David Schultz says, Ben, who is also on the moon? Are the Chinese a few months ago? Yeah, so China has sent unmanned missions to the moon, including a rover. That was good, the Jade Rabbit rover. They landed on the dark side of the moon, so-called. It's actually technically the far side of the moon. It's not actually any darker than the the near side, the side that faces the Earth, the dark side of the moon actually gets equal amount of sunlight. It even has phases. The phases are the opposite of the ones on the Earth, from what we can see from the Earth. And this rover went onto the moon. It was very interesting what they found. They were driving around. It's the first controlled landing on the dark side of the moon. Yeah, I expect they had to be a bit careful about what they filmed there, because there's a few things that they're not supposed to film. Hello, Hugo Roon. How are you? Hugo Roon says, anti-gravity not dramatic? Confused. Who's done anti-gravity? Many people, Hugo. But it's actually from a story. It's from a story by Arthur C. Clarke, who was a very good imaginative science fiction writer. Oh, Max Q says the UK is about to start launches. Are we launching our own rockets? Where? Where from? Where from? You see, you need what you need if you're going to launch a rocket. You need not only the launch facility, but you need to be able to do it safely. It has to be away from built-up areas. In the case of the Kennedy Space Center, it's over the sea. There's like I just actually got a. It's a little bit disturbing actually, because I've got a thing here. There were range commanders. The Range Commanders Council Range Safety Group talk about this. There was like a no-fly zone, and there's like a controlled area of. There's a controlled area downrange of where the rocket lifts off. Aircraft are banned from it, and there's a whole range safety system which protects people and assets on the rocket range if the launch vehicle endangers them. So if the rocket goes off course, they have to take action from the ground by remote control. There's several things they can do. They can shut down the propulsion system. There's also something called flight termination system, which was used with the Challenger disaster in the 80s. They remotely blew up the booster rockets because they survived the explosion of the main spacecraft. That is, the fuel tank and the orbiter both blew up and fragmented. Yet the two booster rockets just broke off and carried on flying, but they were blown up. They were blown up from the ground for safety reasons, just in case they went off course. And there was a system. It was actually mentioned on that live stream you just showed just a few minutes before I started playing it, and it just said it was called the flight termination system, which is operated by the US Space Force. If the rocket goes the wrong way, and there are large cities near the Kennedy Center, there's Miami and places like that. Supposing it starts flying in the wrong direction, it looks like it's going to crash in one of the cities. They could blow the rocket up. There's a system by which they could blow it up. There's scuttling charges basically on board the rocket. They can blow it up. Well, they don't give details here, but that's what I'm guessing it could do. They could. These controlled vehicles experiencing failure or degraded performance that can lead to public safety. And there's several different ways they could do that, but there is a. And of course, that'd be a very difficult decision to make if it's a manned mission. But what are you going to do? I mean, I'm sure astronauts know that when they get on board the rocket. You know that if the worst came to the worst, they would do that. But Max Q, Max Q was going to tell me where's Britain launching its rockets from? Hello, Miles. Devon. Devon and Scotland. We're launching. Oh my goodness. Hugo Roon says, I'm unaware of any anti-gravity device. Alright, well, I've done a couple of videos about it, Hugo, you might not have seen. So, there's going to be rockets launched from Britain. Alright. Miles Lawler, hello. This video is going to be striked for mentioning boosters. Oh, I see. You mean the older, yeah. Hello, Neil, how are you doing? Hi, how you doing? Hello, Caroline McGreal, who's in southeast London. There's no rockets launching there. Hello, Neil. A quick hi. Pity it was dark. Hi, Neil. Yeah, we enjoyed the recording, Neil. Yeah, it was dark. I mean, that's the thing, because it is actually like it was was 5 hours behind us. It was like it was 1 a.m. over there, and it was sort of dark where I was as well. It was dark here too, but it was just about to get light. And so yeah, and it says, Max says the capsule would be ejected from the main state before the flight termination destroyed it. All right, okay. Now they did mention something about a system. There is actually a rescue rocket which is on top, which is above the command module, and it can be released to remove the command module and carry the astronauts to safety. This was switched off on the Artemis One because it's an unmanned mission. But they could do that, I see. So they would actually try to rescue the astronauts first. That's great. Okay, and then they would blow up the rocket. That's a good idea. That's fair enough. I'm sure the crew would be very happy about that. Hugo, and please, Ben, point me to any video of an anti-gravity device, please. All right. Better say the B word. That's unfortunate. Yes, of course. The AI. When you say booster, the AI. I don't see anything wrong with saying booster, is there? Surely the AI is not that stupid, and it will know what I'm talking about. But the B word, I can't, Miles. I mean, you may be right, but I can't just I can't keep doing these live streams tiptoeing. I can't. You know, it's. I know there's certain things I don't say. There's certain things I say in code. Yeah, TK. Why have they sent this to the moon? Well, we'll go into the details of the mission now. I think they're quite glad they launched. I mean, I think they felt a deadline approaching. Well, there's several deadlines. In fact, there's a whole series of deadlines were bearing down on them like a tsunami, a series of tsunamis. But one was in a couple of weeks' time. Actually, it was actually the 14th of next month, I believe. Yeah. And that was, 14th of December, which was when Apollo 17 allegedly lifted off from the moon. And that was the last. It was Harrison Smith and Eugene Kerman. They were the last. They were the last humans to walk on the moon, and that was. And they wanted. I think they wanted to get Artemis 1 up before that date this year, because then that would be 50 years ago. They could say, well, it's 50 years. 50 whole years, and we've done that, not gone back to the moon. And Neil and we're actually doing a new Apollo Detectives program, Neil and I, and a couple of other people. But yeah, that's I think they may have felt that need to do that. Yeah. All right. We've got Americans here who don't know the difference between Cornwall and Devon. No, I know. Oh, blimey. Oh, Max said they were also in a bit of a space race with Musk and SpaceX. Yeah. Hello, Nihilist Lives Matter. How do you do? Marshall, wasn't Kubrick asked about the hoax rumours? No. There's a silly video going around. It's actually it was called Shooting Kubrick, which films Stanley Kubrick apparently asking about he's confessing to folks faking the moon landings. It's fake. That wasn't Kubrick. It was someone completely different. I've covered that on a previous video. I suspect it was a bit of there was a film. It was actually quite a funny film, actually. Well, it's not that good, but there's some bits of it are funny, called Moonwalkers. And I suspect it was a bit of viral marketing for that film. Oh, TK's just going to visit and come back. No problem, no worries. Okay, so this mission, Artemis 1, it says here, Artemis 1 is an ongoing unmanned moon orbiting mission. I could show you this. I'm just reading from Wikipedia here. There you go. And it is the first flight of the agency's Space Launch System rocket and the complete Orion spacecraft, as Max was saying earlier. It was launched successfully from Kennedy Space Center, and it says that. And formerly known as Exploration Mission 1, the mission was renamed following the creation of the Artemis program. Artemis, incidentally, in Greek mythology, is the sister of Apollo. And There's actually, there used to be a temple to Artemis, which was one of the 7 wonders of the world, which was knocked down. But the rocket has performed a translunar injection. Now, there's no astronauts inside the capsule, but there are cameras inside the capsule. Apparently, they are going to be monitoring what goes on there. And it says after Artemis 1 mission, Artemis 2 will have performed a manned lunar flyby, and Artemis 3 will perform a manned lunar landing. Oh my God! 5 decades after the last lunar mission. I think it's going to be a bit more than that. The Orion spacecraft Artemis 1 was stacked. Yeah, oh my goodness. And that's what it's going to do. See, it's quite a long mission actually. It's flying. You see, it took off from there. It's going to fly all the way, and there you see that's the translunar injection with the rocket there, and then jettison rocket boosters and fairing abort launch abort system. Yeah, and this just tells you for number 4. Perigee raise maneuver, Earth orbit, translunar injection, that's number 6 there, TLI burn for 20 minutes, and then 7 interim cryogenic propulsion stage separation, commits Orion to the moon. Okay, so it can't go back then. Outboard trajectory burn, number 8, and it's going to fly here to number 9. Number 9, outboard power flyby, so it's 60 nautical miles from the moon, targets DRO insertion. Lunar orbit insertion, number 10. I don't know what DRO stands for. Distant retrograde orbit. Okay, right. So it's flying in the opposite direction to the motion of the moon. Perform half or 1 1/2 revolutions of orbital period, 38 nautical miles from the moon, and then it says here DRO. Departure and return to Earth. It's number 12 here. Number 13. Return powered flyby. 14. Return transit. Return transit correction. And aim for the Earth's atmosphere. 15. Crew module separation. And then entry interface, and then landing, splashdown in the Pacific Ocean within view of the US Navy recovery shift. If they get close enough. One of the Gemini missions actually did not actually missed its landing location and actually landed a long way from where the aircraft carrier was waiting for it. And luckily they managed to find the capsule and rescue the astronauts before. It was a Mercury mission. It's Mercury or Gemini. They managed to rescue the astronaut or astronauts until before the capsule sank. That's interesting, isn't it? So this is gonna. You see, there we are. It's mission elapsed time, and it's day 2 to 5 6. It's actually day 26. It's quite a long mission. And there you are. Interesting stuff, isn't it? See, I'm going through all these details here. A list of Artemis. There's lots of future missions planned. And the CubeSats, they're releasing these CubeSats as well, these small, I think we talked about them last night, someone talked about what CubeSats were, these very small mini satellites. List of Artemis missions, see that was in EFT1, that was Delta IV Heavy Lift, that's already happened. This is the one we're on now, the 25-day mission. Maiden flight of the SLS, formerly carrying an unmanned Orion capsule and 10 CubeSats. Right, so that's already underway. Artemis 2 is listed for May 2024. And it's not saying these are unmanned missions. It says TBA, so they haven't decided that Artemis 2 is definitely going to be a manned mission. We don't know if there's going to be astronauts on board. But it does say underneath here, first manned flight carrying 4 crew members along with numerous CubeSats. Right. So, presumably the TBA is going to turn into a manned mission. Artemis 3, that's in 2025. Not long to go. Carrying the Artemis 3 moon mission hardware. Expected to be the first lunar landing of the Artemis program. Right. Presumably with astronauts. Then Artemis 4. Oh yeah, that's in 2027. Of the one hub module to Lunar Gateway, as that's a... Oh right, that is a planned small space station in lunar orbit, right. And there's lots and lots of more. It's actually planned, they're going right up to 2033. Yeah, this is very, this is an ambitious project they've set themselves. Yeah. Alright, TBA means the crew are to get it's just crew allocation. It doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't decided whether it's a manned mission or not. They have decided it's definitely manned missions. Let me just go back to this. Okay, thanks Max. Much appreciated. Mars Lawler, Artemis is not part of the Space Force, no, it's NASA. Although they work closely with the Space Force as we've described earlier on. Mars Lord, compared to the DART mission, Artemis should be a doddle. I don't think so. No. Oh, Artemis is Hugo's second name. His full name is Hugo Artemis Solon Saturnicus Reginald Arthur Roon. Well, parents must have had a sense of humour. Alright, Max Hughes says it is a test mission before humans get on board. Alright, okay. And Hugo has a tin full of spliffs. I thought he might, yeah. Virulent Norris says China will get there first. Well, we've got to talk about whether Virulent Norris says Corey Good has already been to the moon. I doubt if Corey Good has been there. But I think some people have, yeah. David Schultz, Ben, and those in chat. Here's something of interest on YouTube. Masonic Moon by... I can't say that, sorry. I can't say that word. An interesting song about a bit of history. All right. Is it a band? All right. I didn't know that. I know it's a book. I didn't know it was a band. I've done an entire video on that book, by the way. Nihilist Lives Matter. Is there a monolith on the moon's backside? There's more than that, Nihilist. Diego Fair, they will not land man on the moon. I think we will see. I think we'll see astronauts walking on the moon. I mean, there are astronauts on the moon. There are probably some there now. They're probably on the far side, on the dark side. Why is there such a lack of recent moon footage, Diego Rivera? Because there have been no public missions to the moon since Apollo 17, assuming that was real, which I doubt. There's been no moon missions in the public domain. There have been secret ones, many, both before Apollo and since. But there have been none that have been publicised since the last time there was a publicised mission to the moon was in 1972. December 1972 was when it was a 12-day mission. It was a long mission. And Matthew says splashdown accuracy depends on wind due to parachutes. Right, yeah. Well, there's never been a time when the rocket when the capsule's landed and it's not been found. And they have means of locating the capsule if it happens to go off course. They have helicopters that can go and reach it. The capsule can stay afloat for a very long time. Miles says, Ben, do you have top chat or live chat option selected? There's a difference. I've got top chat selected. I mean, what's the difference? What happens if I select live chat? Alright, all messages are visible. Some messages, such as potential spam, may not be visible. Live chat, all messages are visible. Okay. Well, I mean, I do actually. I don't have a mod here, but I do want to have the option of. Mars, I do want to have the option of not publishing some comments because I do get trolls here. TK, how do the secret ones get through all the amateur space watcher people? The same way that some secret aircraft do. And Hugo wants to know about. Hugo's actually asked me what if there's a background video that might be worth watching. I'll find one. There is one called. I think it's a reply to Steve mumbling. Let's have a look. All right, Hugo. Where is it? I've got loads of replies to Steve mumbling. I quite enjoy doing them, actually. It's called Space Force, a reply to Steve mumbling. Hugo, you can find it on my channel. It'd be good if the mumbler was here, wouldn't it? But of course he lives where he lives. It's difficult, isn't it? Max Hughes says Apollo accuracy was not so good. Some people worried the capsule might hit a recovery vessel. SpaceX is even more accurate. Well, Max, the SpaceX rockets. I mean, this is where they do have an advantage over NASA. I mean, someone was saying that the SLS is a waste of. Is obsolete. I mean, people. I remember. Was it Scott Manley or someone else that the space shuttle itself was a bad idea? It was a waste. It was overcomplicated. Someone called it a white elephant. I don't know if it was Scott Manley, but someone called it a white elephant because it's overcomplicated and it carries a much smaller payload than most other rockets, and it's more expensive and it's not as good. Because of course they've abandoned the space shuttle, haven't they? There is no. This is the first NASA manned space program that's come about since the end of the space shuttle. TK, so no one was reporting any secret missions or detecting any secret craft going to the moon. Well, TK, people are detecting them. Yeah, it's difficult. Oh, right, Max, you said it was not so good. I said it was so good. Okay, so Martin Taylor, Trump hinted of invisible vehicles. TRB. Yeah, Trump is running for president again, isn't he? And by the time Artemis 3 is scheduled to launch, Artemis 2, but the time Artemis 3 is scheduled to launch, because in May 2024, it's actually November 2024 is the election, but Trump should be president by the time Artemis 3 goes up, assuming he can, yeah. But all right, but there's. Obviously, like there must be a reason why they decided to do a public space flight to the moon now. In the same way they decided to do Apollo. They decided to do Apollo. This was probably after the first secret lunar missions had taken place. And there was it's like a time comes when people need to be seen to walk on the moon. And it may well have something to do with the Cold War and the space race. And when you think of the space program, really, in order to keep the space program relevant and the space race relevant, America needed to be seen to catch up. Well, what was left after all the major orbital firsts had been achieved, most of them by the Soviet Union? What's left? And the answer is a manned lunar landing. And so we saw astronauts walking on the moon. I've just done an interview with Marcus Allen. I've not published it yet. It's going to be on Hapanwo Radio in a couple of weeks, to round about the time of the 50th anniversary of Apollo 17. But Marcus speaks very eloquently and very knowledgeably about the political situation at the time. He is old enough to remember it. Yeah. Oh, Diego Rivera. Oh, dear. So yeah, so I think we will see people say, oh, it's people. What I don't want the flat earthers to say everything's fake. That's the problem. Hugo Rood says, I doubt they ever went to the moon. Sorry. Well, I believe people have been at the moon. I mean, I question the official story of Apollo. Certainly, yeah. I mean, the whole Apollo detectives thing is about that. But people have been at the moon. People have been at the moon. How many of you? Occasionally, things. Who was it who said? Oh right, Max Q says SLS is out of date, overpriced, not reusable, very late. Yeah. Yeah. So the rockets. See, the thing about SpaceX is the rockets can. Well, when they've launched Or the launch vehicles, when they've actually done their job, they don't just fall into the sea and sink. Nor do they float and wait for some ship to come and pick them up and hope the ship can pick them up before they sink. They just fly back down to the launch pad. It's very, very interesting to watch. They literally fly down and they use their rockets as retro thrusters to slow them down and guide them very accurately onto the launch pad. Now that makes them more efficient and much more cheaper, and I say lower price than rockets which are disposable. In the same way that when you fly on holiday, the plane you use is reusable. Just imagine how expensive your airline ticket would be if when you landed at your destination the plane had to be smashed up and they had to get a new one out. Someone was asking about people seeing the secret space program. Now, Miles Wallace says an asteroid is called Bennu in honour of Ben. I think it's actually named after an Egyptian god, Miles, not me. But then maybe I am that Egyptian god and I haven't told you. So. They haven't used the DART mission on Bennu. The DART mission was on another one, but the DART mission was very successful actually, which is good. I think we may need those DART rockets at some point. Yeah, Hugo. I've done a couple of videos about that subject. Hugo, have you seen the Apollo Detectives videos? They're uploaded to Neil Peel's channel first, but then I always upload my own version. Max Q, if you're not going to read all my comments, there's no point. Oh right, well Max Q, I sometimes skip over things. Deal with it. All right, you can always repeat yourself. I'm not taking dictation from you. Get yourself a secretary if you want that. I added SLS is jobs for senators' voters, otherwise it would have been scrapped years ago. Right, okay. Point taken. So that's the reason. So you're saying there's basically a political reason why the SLS continued. It's more politics than science and engineering. Diazepam, hello, evening Ben, late tonight, evening chat. No problem, Diazepam. You were probably sleeping late because you were taking yourself, weren't you? So, how many of you saw that Langrenus thing? The Langrenus videos. Something very strange happened. This video live stream, a channel appeared. Let me just find the details. I wrote an article about this. It's called Video from the Moon. Oh, Hugo Room. Oh, right, no problem. Hugo says, yes, I have, but with my present mental problems, I will watch again. Okay, no problem, Hugo. Well, when you're feeling up to it, have a look and see what you think. But this strange video appeared. It's a very weird video appeared quite a while ago, actually. Now, some live streams on YouTube can be very long. There's broadcasts actually for days or even weeks, and one very unusual one began on May the 11th, 2021, posted from a channel created 6 days earlier. It's a channel that is almost blank in design. No banner, no avatar, no subs, no faves, and it has the name the first two. It begins with 2 Chinese sigils, and it says Langrenus 2021-14. Now, Langrenus is a large impact crater on the Moon, and no spacecraft has ever visited that location, or so we're told. The numbers after the word probably refer to the current year, 2021, although the meaning of 14 is unknown. The Chinese sigils at the beginning mean mission or errand. Now, China has carried out some highly successful landings on the Moon, but apparently not in the Langrenus crater. But the live stream appears to show a location on the lunar surface, shot from a static camera, and the quality is a fairly low resolution, similar to the performance of early Apollo footage. The channel live streamed continuously for a week and then stopped. The vista occasionally changed, but the images are mostly very monotonous. The camera hardly moves, and almost no other objects can be seen. There is a soundtrack in some sections, but it's very indistinct and full of static. Occasionally, voices can vaguely be heard, and even music. Now, this could be fake. It could be a clever charade put together as a prank to draw attention from YouTube viewers. It wasn't monetized, though. It might have been inspired as a parody of NASA's rolling live streams from Mars and the ISS. So the frame darkens and lightens through a regular 24-hour period, which is what the Earth's night and day does. But of course, on the Moon, it's very, very different. There's no 24-hour cycle of nighttime and daytime. There are phases that cycle over the course of 29.5 days. And now some of the shots show the Earth, and it's in the exact place you would expect to see it from the Langrenus crater, about 10 degrees elevation, which stays there permanently because the Moon doesn't rotate relative to the Earth. It's also in its own correct phase, because from an observer on the Moon, the Earth appears to have phases in the exact way the Moon does from the Earth, only they are the opposite. A crescent moon from the Earth looks like a gibbous Earth from the Moon. And its size, it's the proper size, and based on its relative size and distance. This will be difficult to reproduce, and no open source software or application such as Google Moon can do that. Fabricating such a panorama authentically would be a massive and sophisticated task. Now, a few people recorded some of the live stream, and despite its samey nature, the last few minutes are extraordinary. What looks like a human hand moves in front of the lens, and then the camera is moved from whatever mount it is on and wheeled around, and we see the black sky, the sunlit ground, and then the feed is cut and never resumes. The channel is totally anonymous. No one knows who set it up, and no further information has come from the uploader. And it ended on May the 18th in 2021. There's only been just one clip is left on the channel the last time I checked. So could this video really be a live stream from the Moon? If so, who's doing it? How did they get to that spot where no known mission has ever landed there? And it has to be a manned mission because of the hand. You see a hand at the end. Now, according to researchers into the secret space program, there is indeed a covert human presence on the Moon and other planets as well, not acknowledged by public space agencies. Andrew Johnson's done a couple of good videos on this, and he mentions it in his book. And funnily enough, there's even reports of anomalous phenomena in Langrenus crater. It could be something to do with that. Is there a secret lunar base on Langrenus crater? And if there is, how did it end up on YouTube? It must be some kind of leak from a whistleblower. Oh well, so just have a look. Is it still there actually? Because this was quite a long time ago. I last looked. Well, there's ads, so yeah.
Better use +5.
Now, this is actually as I say, the Langrenus channel is not monetized. This is like a mirror. This is the stream ending here. This will blow your mind. It will. Okay, guys. Let me just show you this. This is the end of the stream on Langrenus crater. There's no soundtrack here. See, this basically is all you saw for an entire week. You just saw this kind of vista. Very poor quality, like I said, the equivalent of early Apollo. You see this sunlit grey expanse, just like you do in the other shots of other moon missions, such as Jade Rabbit, etc. See the hand? There's a hand. It's a hand wearing a glove of some kind. Strange, isn't it? It looks like it's just been pointed at the ground, I think, there, or maybe it's the glove. I don't know. That's it, I think. It just says here, you can read the description here. The Langrenner stream. At around 1 a.m. on May the 18th, the Langrenner stream ended. Here's a clip of what was shown before the stream ended. What appears to have happened is the camera fell over and the stream ended as the host of the live stream tried to pick it up. Yeah. Interesting. People are like quite impressed by this. I wonder if the... Let's just see if the... Is the original channels still here? Is the Langrenner's channel still there? Or someone deleted it? There's no reason why it shouldn't be there. It's still there. This is the Langrenner's channel. That means mission. That's those Chinese sigils. Langrenner's 21-14. And here, this is basically a
Well, you use Google Chrome.
It's monetized now. Used not to be monetized. Someone's monetized it. Well, you could say this is some kind of attempt to an AdSense, a very elaborate way of getting attention on YouTube. But there you go. People could say that's what it is. And see, that's all you see. I mean, it's not the most entertaining piece of footage on earth, but you just see various vistas like that for the entire week. Interesting, isn't it? There's your channel anyway. See, completely blank. There's no avatar, no banner. About nothing. Just joined 13th of April 2021. No feature, no playlists. This person has got 384 subscribers. No subs of their own. Only these uploads. No favourites. Nothing. What do you reckon to that, guys? Right, I'll have to go back through your comments here. Diego Rivera says an adult channel. Oh, hello, Villanora. How do you do? An adult channel appeared during the moon footage. Did it? Actually, I didn't say comments. I said comment. You read half of my comments. So, all right, makes no sense. Please slow down when you're reading people's comments because you're misrepresenting them. Well, I'll do my best, Max. Okay, but you have to be patient with me. Barney brought a dildo as retracted his message. Okay. Now, how many people saw that? How many people saw that thing? Oh, there's some more comments here. Hang on. Armand Adams, good evening. Miles Lord, the 2022 World Cup will have less atmosphere in the stadiums than the surface of the moon. They got air-conditioned stadiums, haven't they? Oh, Joseph Farrell's show. It's still the Germans. Oh, right. The Germans did go to the moon, yeah, they did. Diego Rivera, did they land mice on Button Moon? I think you're getting two children's programs mixed up with Diego Rivera. It's the Clangers you're thinking of there. It's still the Germans, Ben. Oh my god, Michael Shrimpton. I thought you meant Michael Shrimpton. Yeah, I don't know what Michael Shrimpton will think of this, but you know the Germans did land on the moon. I think the Germans landed on the moon. They certainly had they had the technology to do so. It seems odd that they wouldn't. Hugo Rood says moon footage, WALOB. I don't know what WALOB means. WALOB. I think it's an acronym for something. No, sorry Hugo, but was it LMFAO? All right. So if that's real, then it means there is a base, probably Chinese, on the moon right now, a permanent moon base, and there's people there, and they've managed to sneak some footage out, or someone through some process or exchange of custody, some footage has come to light, which has been put onto YouTube, or it could all be fake. If it was fake, no one's confessed. There's no kind of oh, what a load of bollocks! Right, thanks, Hugo. Diego Rivera, what do you think about the moon, Ben? What is its purpose? Well, it's a satellite. It's Max Q. I'm resigned to the fact you can't read or are doing it on purpose. No, Max, I'm not. I promise you, I'm not. I will do my best. Okay, I'll do my best, but I'm asking you for a little bit of patience. Okay, you can always repeat yourself. It's not the end of the world. Do you think the moon is natural, Ben? Yes, I do, Hugo. I know a lot of people disagree. I think the moon is a natural object. Now, that's not to say it doesn't have artificial objects on it. Well, we know it does, yeah. Even official stories mention the remains of spacecraft that have landed there. But it also has other objects on there, which other objects on there which are also not natural, far more impressive, shall we say? Do you remember Donna Hare and Carl? Where's Donna Hare and Carl Wolf? Do you remember them? Okay. I'm just going to find you to see what they have to say. I only get a lot of third-party strikes here, definitely. Let's see if I can find it. Why is this so difficult to find? National Press Club briefing. Yeah, that's it. YouTube has really become a pain in the bottom, hasn't it? It really has. It's not like I'm looking for anything like dodgy or politically incorrect. I'm looking for I'm going to go to bloody Odyssey. I'm going to go to friggin' Odyssey to find this damn thing. And what's what you have to go to the individual sites. You can't go through Google. You can't just put Google in videos. I want to show because some people have reported weird things on the moon. So I don't mean to drag you on and make you wait for things, guys. But it's just really annoying. There it is. You see, there's 2 copies of it on YouTube. I found that quicker on. Sorry, there's 2 copies on Odyssey. How long would it take me to find it on damn bloody fucking YouTube? All right. Let me just find the right place. I think they were later. I know this very well. I've watched it so many times. Here we go. There's old. Oh my God! It's my Messiah.
For us to become.
It's my God. It is, man. Well, yeah, he goes. I'm 46 years old. I can bench 46. Yeah. I'm 65 years old. I can bench 46, man. I'm your God, I'm your Messiah. Come sky watching with me. That'll be $5,000, please. Oh yeah. Do you remember when? Did you see that?
I received a call.
Did you see the video? It's on my channel. It's still on the channel. Where I was at. I think it was the. Which one was? It was one of the Exopolitics conferences. I think it was the 2012 one. I think we were in Liverpool. That's it. It was the 2012 one. Where Richard Wright and I got drunk and we started doing impressions of all the speakers. We started doing impressions of the speakers, and I did one of Greer. Oh, I'm just trying. Oh, that was so funny, man. That was such a good laugh. We had such a good laugh. We really did. Oh. How are you guys getting on? I think it was later on in the video they appear. Fully seeing these people, I know some of these people because they're a lot older now. This was like more than 20 years ago. I did a special 20th anniversary video, if you remember, because this happened in May 2001. It's Captain Salas. and it was really big thing. Old Greer organised this massive press conference. It was similar to the hearing. It was similar to the Citizen hearing, and it was one of the biggest live streams. I mean, it was 2001. They didn't do many live streams. But live stream was quite a novelty thing in those days. But this was the biggest live stream in the internet's history. Here we go.
But I saw the light, I think. Disclose was true.
You found the right
Clearance.
place. There we go. Just got to go back a little bit. There we go.
Or before any other organization, that what I witnessed was true.
This is him, Sergeant Carl Wolf, U.S. Air Force.
Good morning. My name is Carl Wolf.
Did you see that?
And I was a precision electronics photographic repairman with a top secret crypto clearance.
What's that knob? Look at him. He's like, Greer is like sort of sitting there. He's going like this. I couldn't stand on stage talking with this guy sort of sitting there looking up at me like that. So, come on. You know, it's like, get out of the way, Greer. It's not all about you.
In the United States Air Force, I was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia. In 1965, in mid-1965, I was loaned to the Lunar Orbiter project at NASA on Langley Field. Dr. Colley was in charge of that project. They had problems with a piece of electronic equipment that was bottlenecking their production of photographs. I went to the facility, and when I walked into the facility, there were scientists from all over the world. I was stunned, actually, to see people at a NASA project from all over the world. It didn't make any sense to me initially. I was taken into the laboratory where the equipment was malfunctioning. I couldn't repair it in the dark. I asked to have it removed. A airman second class was in the dark room at that time. I was also an airman second class. I was interested in how the whole process functioned, how the data got from the lunar orbiter to the laboratory. Asked the young man if he'd describe the process to me. He did. About 30 minutes into the process, he said to me, in a very distressed way, by the way, we've discovered a base on the backside of the moon. And then he proceeded to put photographs down in front of me, and clearly in these photographs were structures, mushroom-shaped buildings, spherical buildings, and towers. And at that point, I was very concerned because I knew we were working on compartmentalized security. He had breached security, and I was actually frightened at that moment. And I did not question him any further. And a few moments later, someone did come into the room. I worked there for 3 more days, and I remember going home and naively thinking, I can't wait to hear about this on the evening news. And here it is, more than 30 years later, and I hope we hear about it tonight. And I will testify under oath before Congress that what I'm saying is the truth.
How about that, eh? So this is just interestingly, this is Odyssey, and I'll come back on topic in a minute. But look, this is Odyssey. This is the entire Disclosure Project press conference. There are several versions of this on Odyssey. You can't get this on YouTube now. The Disclosure Project National Press Club 2001 public hearing, and there's a description and everything. They are QR archives. Sub to them. I am following them. That's cool. Alt-Tech is where it is now, guys. I'll tell you. So, hello, Jules. I've got to say hello to a few people because some more people have turned up. So I want to say hello to people. I'll come back. I know some of you have asked me some questions here. So hello to. I got Hugo Room mixed up with Israel. Hello, Jules. How you doing? And Vrelanora, Kerry Woolley, and Orlando Trustful and his Cosmic Rocking Horse. Huge arseholes is here too, and Michael Snow. Welcome all of you. How do you do? Mars, no, not Richard Wright from Pink Floyd. Richard Wright from Exopolitics, Kingston upon Thames. He's been in my videos loads of times. Hugh Jarsell, what's the Gotthard Tunnel opening about? Hugh, we'll come back to that another time. You just witnessed Carl Wolf, a NASA contractor, describing how I'll show you someone else in a minute who's in that predicament, in his position, describing how from the Lunar Orbiter program, this was pre-Apollo, they were discovering artificial structures on the moon. Now, on what he calls the back side of the moon, and that's also called the far side or the dark side of the moon. And so the question here has to be, what's going on? Mars Lawler, all right, I'm busy. That's why I've got so many tabs open. And then, of course, this is highly classified stuff. This is highly classified. The photos will not be released. He said I went home, expected to hear about it on the news, and of course that's very naive of me. And of course he didn't. Carl Wolf sadly died a couple of years ago. But his colleague is still alive, and I'll be showing you her in a minute. YouTube banned it. Now, I don't know if they must have banned it, because there used to be copies of it on there. And, by putting the search terms, I put in the right search terms, so, it could be, Hugh, that the video is still there, the entire 1 hour, 55 minute video is still there. But they've obviously either it's been removed by YouTube, or they have prioritized other videos above it in the algorithms. Either way, it's the same effect. It's harder to find. It's harder to watch, and that does speak volumes. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing inappropriate. There's nothing politically incorrect in that video. But of course, the information that he talks about is sensitive. So the question is, what is on the dark side of the moon? What is on there, apart from some wonderful songs by Pink Floyd? Nah. But what is on there? Now, he said he describes what looks like buildings, domes, towers, things like that. Are they built by us? Are they built by humans who've been there before? As I've just explained how I believe people went to the moon before Apollo. Did they build these sorts of things on there? And why did they build? Well, I think there's an obvious reason why you build something on the dark side of the moon. Because, in fact, whether it was humans or somebody else, somebody non-human from another world were there. Because if you're traveling, if you want to observe the Earth and you want to do it secretly and quietly, and you want to do it from space, well, you've got several 100,000 miles of real estate on the far side of the moon, which is completely invisible from the Earth's surface, and in cosmic terms it's next door. It is in fact one of the few places in the universe, the far side of the moon, it's one of the few places in the universe which is completely invisible from the Earth's surface for a reason other than sheer distance, and in cosmic terms it's literally right next door. So it's obvious that if someone wanted to build some kind of structure and have a covert presence on Earth, yeah, Mars Lawler, will Artemis be live streaming from the dark side of the moon? We'll find out in a few days, won't we? And if it is live streaming, will what we see be real? Or will it detect things on the ground? Will it detect UFOs at any point in this mission? It may already have detected some, and we will have to see it. Yeah, what about caves on the moon? I mean, there's all kinds of things. Alright, Max Q says here, Ben, you are oblivious to the fact some people just bullshit for various reasons. I'm not oblivious to that fact, Max, and I've read your entire sentence here. I'm not oblivious to that fact. I just think that I don't just believe that if people say things that sound a bit strange, they're automatically bullshitting for some reason. I don't believe that. And I think this particular witness I think is credible, so is his colleague, who I'm going to play in a minute. But supposing some society, whether from Earth or but you read it wrong again. What, Ben? Sorry, Ben. Apologies. Yeah, apologies. I got that wrong. Are you oblivious to the fact some people just bullshit for various reasons? Again, my reply is yes, I am. Same reply. So it's not a consequential misunderstanding. Yes, I am aware of that, Max, but as I explained, I don't believe that everyone who says things that sound a bit weird is bullshitting. Yeah, Mars Lawler says, next video title sorted. Artemis One Livestream. I think it's going to be called Artemis One UFO sighted livestream. Yeah. You could see that if some society wanted to have a covert presence on Earth from space, that's where they would park themselves, on the far side of the moon. Like I say, you're right next door and you're hidden. No one can see you from the Earth's surface, except the occasional Chinese probe, which, well, there's always ways and means of dealing with them. Hugh Jarsel, all those craters on the moon look like post-war ancient missile strike impact craters. Maybe Earth, Moon, Mars had a war. They are, the craters on the moon are impact craters. They've been caused by large objects striking the moon. Interestingly, someone wanted to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon at some point. That's an interesting story. Max, I've corrected myself. What more do you want? Max is still complaining because I made a mistake in reading out their comment. On the far side, interestingly, there are more craters on the far side than the near side. There's more Maria, the plains, the flat plains without craters, or fewer craters. There's fewer of them on the dark side than the light side, the Maria. So let's hear what his colleague has to say. I think she's up next. Yes, she is. Right, okay. This is Donna Hare, another NASA contractor.
Thank you, Carl.
Or maybe employee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Hare, and
apologies, employee. She's directly, rather than being a contractor like Carl Wolf, she's directly employed. She was directly employed by the agency.
And I worked at Philco Ford Aerospace from 1967 to 1981. During that time, I was a design illustrator, draftsman. I did the launch slides and landing slides, and also projection plotting boards, lunar maps for NASA. We were a contractor, but most of the time I worked on site, in Building 8. I had the opportunity to do extra work during downtime, which was between missions, and I walked into a photo lab, which was the NASA lab across the hallway. I had a secret clearance, which is not that high, but I was able to go into restricted areas, which this was. At the time, I was talking to one of the techs in there, and he drew my attention to a photograph, a NASA photograph. It had a dot on it, and I said, "What is that?" Well, he drew my attention to it, and I said, "Is that a dot on the emulsion?" And he said, and he's smiling, and he has his hands crossed, and he said, "Round dots on the emulsion don't leave round shadows on the ground." And this was an aerial photograph of the Earth, I'm assuming the Earth, because it had pine trees on it, and the shadows of the craft, or whatever it was, were in the same angle as the trees. And by its very nature, UFO, and I wanted to clarify that to a gentleman that was talking to me, means unidentified. So I did not know what this was. But I realized at this point that it's very secret, that it was kept secret, because I asked him, "What are you going to do with this piece of information?" And he said, "We always airbrush these out before we sell them to the public." So they're pesky little creatures appearing on this photograph they wanted to get rid of. After that, I decided I would ask questions to other people that work there. And I found that I had to ask them away from the site and not on site. A guard told me that he was asked to burn some photographs and not to look at them. And there was another guard guarding him, who was in green fatigues, watching him burn the photographs. And he said he was too tempted. He looked at one, and it was a picture of a UFO, and he was very descriptive. I can go into that later with anyone. He immediately was hit in the head, and he had a big gash in his forehead. He was knocked out, and he's terrified, so he would have to be protected. Another incident, I knew someone in quarantine with the Apollo astronauts. He told me that the Apollo astronauts saw craft on the moon when we landed, and that is what he told me. And he also was afraid. He said that the astronauts are told to keep this quiet. They're not allowed to talk about it. So I do want to let you know that I worked out there for a number of years, and I ran into this. So it's not something everyone knows that works out there for a long time. My boss didn't know about it. Some people that sat right next to me didn't know about it. It's very strange because I don't know how they can do it, but they can let some people know about it and then others not. I'm willing to testify before Congress that what I'm saying is true, and thank you very much. Thank you.
That's interesting, isn't it? Because she's confirmed, she kind of backs up Carl Wolf's story, because she's confirmed essentially that NASA are involved in UFO investigation, which I think also supports something else. It supports the people, the witnesses from inside the space program, who talk about things like how NASA gave them special cameras and which were not part of their normal kit, and told them to take photos of UFOs. This dates right back to the X-15 program. Now this was a suborbital space plane which flew from 1960 and I think from 1960 until 65 or something. I can't remember how long the X-15 flew, but it's a suborbital space plane, the pilots were given a camera by NASA. NASA said, if you see anything strange up there, take photos of it. Now the X-15, like I say, doesn't go into orbit. It can only spend 12 minutes in space, and then it has to come down again. It's on a ballistic trajectory, even though it can go like 4,000 miles per hour. It's on a ballistic trajectory. So once it goes up, it has to come down. And in those 12 minutes in space, obviously the pilot's busy taking measurements and doing other things. But NASA said, no, if you've got time, get your camera out and take some photographs if you see anything strange. Which proves that NASA was investigating UFOs from the very beginning. Well, it doesn't. I say prove. The number of witnesses is extraordinary. The number of witnesses and the quality of witnesses, the kind of people who say these things with no motive for hoaxing. Israel Diego Rivera, does Russell have a base on the moon? Do you, Russell? What? He says he's not at liberty to divulge that information. Michael Snow says the far side looks boring compared to the side we see. It does a bit, doesn't it? Doesn't have those big Maria, the big flat plains. That could be because it's the side facing away from the Earth. So basically, in the early history of the solar system, the Earth basically took all the blows. It took one for the team and absorbed all the space rocks that were coming in that direction. Whereas the other way around, it was the Moon that took the blows. Oh, Hugo Roon says the difference between the near side and far side is due to charge from the Earth. Yeah, some people claim it's to do with an electrical discharge, and that's why the far side and near side are different. Mars Lawless says, doesn't the Moon have rock tides caused by the Earth? Are these movements noticeable when standing on the Moon? I don't know. I know there are moonquakes. I mean, a lot of craft in the public sphere have detected shaking, moonquakes. Yeah. Michael Snow says the Moon feels Earth's activity. Well, the Earth certainly feels the Moon's activity. Yeah. User One said, Ben, you read my comment incorrectly, but I forgive you. Lol. Oh, thank you, User One. I can breathe easy again. So what we're going to find, what's going to happen on the Artemis mission? On this mission, it's an unmanned mission, so you're just going to you will see the rocket go through the motions of a manned lunar mission without actual astronauts aboard. I think they have mannequins aboard. I think they have like test dummies on board. You would certainly need that anyway, just to simulate the weight of an astronaut. Just, you just simulate the weight of an astronaut. For the sake, they do it on planes when they test them. They put in like dummies that weigh about the same weight as a human to simulate what it would be like to have that payload aboard. Aziraphale says, hello Aziraphale, how are you? Allegedly, there are ancient tribes who have stories handed down through their generations of a time before the Moon appeared in the sky. Right. Now, the Moon is supposedly has been here for. There's all kinds of theories about how the Moon emerged. It's probably not a captured asteroid because it's probably not a captured minor planet because its orbit is too regular, unless it was kind of a coincidence. It's thought to have formed at the same time as the Earth. although several different people have theories. But the moon, you see, the problem is if the moon is actually necessary for the Earth to be as it is, because the moon actually regulates the Earth's spin, like the seasonal cycles and the precessional cycles of the Earth's rotation. If the moon wasn't there, I mean, in those Jerry Anderson live action things, there was Space 1999. It tells a story about how the moon flies away from the Earth. If that happened, then the Earth's rotation would go crazy. It would start spinning in all kinds of directions. The seasonal cycles would be lost. The tides would stop, of course, and probably life. Well, a large number of the organisms on Earth would die, probably including humans, and they'd have to be replaced by something completely different. I know, Hugo. User one. I know you were joking. Oh, Artemis is live streaming now, says Miles. Let's have a look. So I'll come back to your other comments in a minute, guys. Okay. Let's have a look. We've got live tracker. Oh, right, here we go. Right, yes, here we go. Live view from the... What's this? Live view. I don't know why they have this stupid music on there. There we go. Yeah, this is that, I think that's the moon from the Earth, taken from Artemis One. I've got no reason to think this isn't genuine. Is there a reason why this wouldn't be genuine? Are there any other live streams? Anyway, NASA's media channel. There we go. What's on here then? Oh, here we go. Look. Oh, is that Artemis? No, that's the ISS. Oh, hang on. They've probably got a live stream for Artemis. They've got loads of these live streams. Oh, lives. Here we go. No, they don't. Right. They've got this one. That's the one I've just been watching. And they got this one. What's this?
As well as things like surveillance, as well as weather monitoring we talked about earlier.
Surveillance, like keeping an eye on the
surveillance,
vehicles,
like knowing where the vehicles are.
Yeah.
Right? Not so much
Countdown to 2024.
how they get used, but yeah, just where the vehicles are. Right now,
All right. I don't think this is really very interesting, Miles. Sorry. Could you post a link? I know it may well be spammed out, but no. Anyway, David Splendid Isolation says the moon was supposedly put in place. Yeah, I don't think that's true. Despite its very regular orbit, I don't think it's true. The moon is not artificial, but it seems to have very low density compared to the Earth, which means it could have large cavities within it, both natural and artificial. Max Q says it's much more advanced than a human-shaped weight bag. I'm sure it is, Max. I'm sure it functions as that. I think it probably functions as a simulation for the payload of a human body, but I'm sure it also has things on it like dosimeters for radiation, things like that. I'm sure it also has that. Hatchy, I've been led to believe we've had anti-gravity since 1954. Secret space and all. I'd like is a Thunderbird's hoverbike. Oh, I'd like one of those too. Yeah. Or even better, a skateboard like in Back to the Future. No, I think anti-gravity dates back before then. I mean, if you look at the early pioneers, especially in Germany during the infamous period of German history, which I can't mention. Despite the fact it is infamous, their technology advanced by leaps and bounds. They had a huge technological advantage on the rest of the world, even in official science, such as the ballistic missiles and cruise missiles they had. But what about the secret space program? Their secret science, the stuff that Hans Kammler was doing in that mine in Poland. Yeah. Martin Taylor. Martin Taylor says cameras on Artemis, disclosure maybe soon. Well, let's just hope the controller with the red button falls asleep and he's like this. He's sitting there like that. Johnny, yeah, what is it, Johnny? Johnny, yes. 50 million people have just seen that flying saucer alongside Artemis. They've been watching it for 5 minutes. Why didn't you press the red button to cut it off? Oh, damn! Damn it! I'll do it now! Too late, Johnny, too late. Green Sky says, where do you think the Earth's original moon is parked? Near Jupiter, Mars, or some other planet? I don't think I think the Earth, as far as I can tell, has only ever had one moon, and it's in the sky above us. It's been there, it's formed with the Earth, I think. Yeah, I think so. So, yeah. Does it... So what I think we're going to see, we are going to see this rocket. I think there's no reason to think anything's going to be faked with this particular mission. Now, as far as future missions go, I think we're going to see astronauts walking on the moon, and I think then they will be delivered to the moon, maybe at one of the secret bases, and they'll be walking on the moon. This doesn't mean they probably won't. My guess is they won't risk putting them on a rocket. They might do, but I guess they won't. Not with the risk of accidents. There's the radiation hazard and things like that. So what they will do is my guess is they will like send them to. The rocket will go up, right, into orbit, and then the astronauts who are supposedly on that rocket will be put aboard a TR-3B. And sent to the lunar base. They will then they will then perform the actions that they're supposed to perform as part of what the public has been told of the Artemis mission, and then they'll just reverse the process. They'll return to the Earth and get a hero's welcome. They may be dropped off in low Earth orbit to descend in the capsule in the official way to the Earth's surface. Now, I think that was what was probably done with Apollo. I think it was. Mars Lawler said, what would be the delay on a live stream from the moon? There would be, well, because of the moon's distance, simply by the constraints of the speed of light, there will be a couple of seconds delay. There may well be a longer delay imposed by simply by the controllers. Johnny sitting there with his red button. David Splendid Isolation. Ben, moon appears in the same size as the sun, allowing... Hang on, just a moment. The moon appears the same size as the sun, allowing for a perfect total eclipse. That's right, David. On the celestial sphere, the sun and the moon are the same size, allowing for perfect total eclipses, and this is the only place it occurs in the entire solar system, with intelligent beings able to understand the significance. That's a good point. That's got to be very rare it won't be unique, but probably there are not many planets in the universe that have that kind of feature, where you have that strange synchronicity, which could be coincidental, but to me it could be something to do with some kind of an intelligent design. Yeah, it could be that the moon, even if it isn't artificial, it was put into a certain position for a certain purpose in that way. Nocturnal Frequency Radio, good evening, how are you? Nice to see you guys again. Hachi. Ben, John Dee's Black Mirror is in the British Museum. Yes! I have to go and see that. Bob Geldof introduced the little one we carry in our pockets, and Bono sang You Give Yourselves Away. All spot on. Check me out. Right, yeah, you give yourselves away. You give yourselves away. That was in those wonderful old days when you two were good, weren't they? Yeah. Before they went stupid. But Bob Geldof. This is the Black Mirror, of course, the phone, which is black when it's not lit up, as this one's just lit up. But what's Bob Geldof got to do with that? The Boomtown Rats didn't sing a song about that. It was the U2. Although Bono and Bob Geldof are up each other's asses, aren't they? David says, could you please increase the character count for messages here? It's often quite difficult to complete posts without running out of character allowance. I mean, I don't know how you do that. I'll have to check. I'll check. I don't know if I can do that on this stream. I could check that for the next stream, certainly. See if there's an option there. Nice to see you, Nocturnal Frequency Radio. I hope you guys are doing all right. And TK says not all eclipses are perfect like that. No, you have annular eclipses. Yes. Max Q, don't expect too much from the SLS. I doubt most missions will take place. The whole launch tower has to be replaced for 1B. This cost tens of millions and took years to build. All right, so do you think Elon will get there first, and Max Q says SpaceX will soon take over? Right. Do you think they will win this particular space race, Max? Hatchy, and Reg Varney introduced the cash point machines and called Stan from on the buses. Jimmy gave us a clunk clip. Anyone felt misled? Says Hatchy. What do you mean there were cash point machines on the buses? That's from the 70s. Funny enough, there were simple cash points in the 60s, and that's true. I've seen a little old ad from the 60s about them. You just put your card in, but it gives you. They then takes your card and gives you like some cash, but that's all you can do with it. They have to send the card back to you from the bank. Miles Lawler, Ben's singing like that will be another copyright strike. You wait and see. Miles, if you flatter me if you think I can sing that well. No problem, David. I'll check that out. TK, so you can't claim anything special about eclipses then. But you could not for every single one. There are annular eclipses, but there's the total eclipse is quite something else. Hatchy, Ben, we could do with a chat. Love and respect. I mean, guys, the total eclipse happens at, I think it's every 18 months or something. You get at least one total eclipse of the sun. Not always in the same place, of course. I mean, you only get one in the same place every few decades. David says, Reg Varney officially opened the first ATM machine in the 1960s in a big public fanfare. David, where do you get these little bits of these really interesting pieces of material? Oh, TK says total eclipses are just 20%. Oh, you get partial eclipses as well, and you get annular eclipses. Well, you see, that's still a lot, though. 20% is still quite a lot, isn't it? Hello, Kerry Woolley. How would you do? Space Hex. There's a witch's broomsticks and then the moon. Yeah, Space Hex. That's the dragon, isn't it? It's called a dragon. The capsule, the manned capsule, is called the Dragon. Apparently, Musk named it that because someone said that his plan was like Puff the Magic Dragon. So when he actually set up SpaceX, he says, "Well, there you go. I'll call it Dragon then." Just to take the mickey out of the people who doubted him. TK, but it's not the perfect thing being suggested. TK, but it is though. It is. I mean, even leaving aside what you just described, it's still an awful lot. 80% of the time is not perfect. It's still a very, very unusual piece of synchronicity, TK. Probably quite rare within the entire universe. I mean, if you go to Mars, for example, it's called a transit because there are actually one of the rovers, one of the orbiters, caught the moon passing in front of the Earth passing in front of Mars. Arthur C. Clarke wrote a story about that too. Again, you see that's not. Normally, you see either the planet will be a lot bigger, or the sun, the apparent size of the sun will be a lot bigger. Either way, you don't get that strange match which allows you to see the solar corona and things like that. Right, Hatchy also mentions Reg Varney. Yeah, Reg Varney. Right, he was the first person to use a cash point machine. Goodness me. Hatchy and David, I need you guys with me on a pub quiz. I really do. Yeah. TK, you must admit, though, come on. TK, you must admit, it's an odd thing. It's an odd thing that we have this amazing spectacle here on Earth. Kerry Woolley says Dragon goes nice with NASA. Yeah, well, there's a snake in the NASA logo, isn't there? Oh, do you guys want to... I've got nothing else in my notes. Let's have a look. Only this, the Orion capsule is built partly from second-hand modules. I suppose that's something else that makes it cheaper. It's so apparently one of the maneuvering rockets on the spacecraft is like a reconstituted shuttle engine. I suppose that makes it cheaper. It's something that was taken from the SLS from the STS, the space shuttle. Miles Lawler, what has Reg Varney's cash machine got to do with Artemis One then? Are we going to see a connection here? Yeah. Does anyone else want to add anything? Let's go a bit off topic, shall we? Do you remember last night? Everyone surprised and shocked me and quite scared me on last night's live stream. I've done 2 live streams. Goodness me! I did say I'd do a second one if Artemis One got off the ground, didn't I? I said if it didn't launch, then I wouldn't do one, but it did. So I'm a man of my word. Monsieur Ben, with all these videos, you are spoiling us. But everyone says, "Oh Ben, by the way, Russia's bombed Poland." I thought, what? And I checked the news, and indeed it said we had this. I've actually just drafted an article about it, which I'm going to post later this evening, probably before I go to bed. I'll post it. Do you remember the headline? Russian missiles land in Poland, killing 2. That was the headline, and I actually captured it. Luckily, I decided to show you it, so I've got proof. I showed you it on display capture when I started the live stream. Russian missiles land in Poland, killing 2. How did the BBC know they were Russian? How did the BBC know they were Russian? The BBC didn't know they were Russian. No one knew they were Russian missiles. It was an assumption or a deliberate presupposition, because I think, and I said at the time, they're just going to say that it's all Russia's fault, isn't it? Just like everything bad that happens, it's Russia's fault. Didn't they? I said it at the time. See, the Russian Ministry of Defense was already protesting and said this is not one of our missiles. Good evening, body technician. Good evening, I'll answer your question in a minute, Kerry. Good evening, Kerry Woolley and body technician. They said they were all ready, and I said to myself, no one's going to damn well believe them. They're going to say, well, it's obviously Russian misinformation, and the BBC will just assume that it is fake. They'll just assume it's fake. And I sort of went to bed last night thinking, oh my God, they're really going to pick this up and they're going to run with it, and they're going to get Poland to turn against Russia, and they're going to say this is an attack on NATO and things like that. And there's going to be a huge diplomatic incident which will inflame this already burning situation even more. And as Miles Lawler says here, then funnily enough, Jens Stoltenberg, the guy from he used to be Prime Minister of Norway. A bit of background, so I'm just going to give you a bit of background on Jens Stoltenberg. He was former Prime Minister of Norway and Bilderberg, member of the Bilderberg Group. He then comes on, he's now head of NATO. He comes on TV saying, oh, actually those were Ukrainian missiles. They were anti-aircraft missiles. They were old Soviet-built ones, which had been bought from Russia in the 90s. And it was an accident, sorry, but it was Ukraine. It wasn't they didn't do it deliberately, but it was their fault. It was an accident. And I'd looked at this and I thought, what? Why are they not? Kerry Woolley, I'll come to that. Why are they not using this as an opportunity to have another go at Russia? Eh? How about that? And Kerry Woolley says, same as the pipeline. Yeah, well, it's almost hardly a secret. Remember that guy, what's his name? Radoslav Sikorski. He was he used to be a minister in Poland. He's now he's an MEP now. Blech. Big mate of Joe Biden. He's got a big photo on his office wall of him with Biden. You know, shaking his hand. He said, thanks, USA. See, I did 2 articles about that, actually, the pipeline. Della Farron. Hi, Della. How you doing? You came back earlier, so thanks. Hope you found out something interesting. Della says, must find that Enfield source. Read the son of the guy who died in the house years previously, identifying his voice, confirming his name. Yeah. And confirming the cause of death as part of the voice. Yeah, it may well be in Playfair's book, Della. I haven't got a copy of that, but that's quite something, isn't it? I've never read that book. Yeah. I'm going through somebody else's comments now. Diego Rivera said Trump was the Artemis One president, JFK the Apollo 11 president. JFK launched the Apollo program. We will land the man on the moon and return him safely to Earth within the decade, and they managed it within 5 months, July '69. Another 5 months, and it would have been over the decade. We choose to go to the moon, and then of course 2 years later he was brown bread, wasn't he? Thanks to the more than single bullets that were fired at him. Miles, see you, mate. Thanks very much. Night night. So obviously I'm relieved that they're not escalating with this damn missile thing. But I mean, the question is why? Why are they suddenly being so generous to Russia? Why are they suddenly being so honest? Is this some kind of are they? Funny enough, it's just a few hours before that Trump announced his run for presidency. Is this some kind of Are they giving some kind of are they signalling at the White Hats? That is it some kind of tacit deal they've done with the White Hats? I don't know. Is it what was it? I said in the article. Yeah, I haven't posted it yet, but I said it's a bizarre fallback from the globalist standard position that everything bad is Russia's fault. I'm relieved, obviously, but I wonder why. Does it reveal a lack of resolve among the deep state conspirators, or that they are offering a hinted concession to their White Hat enemies? Which is it, I wonder? Jay Lee, hello. What's your opinion on Richard's documentary on Tommy Mayer? Oh yeah, find Tommy now. I think it's very odd, Jay Lee, because Richard has not only has he been communicating with Thomas Mayer, but a lot of other people did too. Richard's in touch with them, and he developed a good relationship with them. And he seems to be, apparently he's not accepting mail, according to the prison authorities. And, well, that's a bit weird, isn't it? He's just refusing to, he's not accepting mail, so that's weird. Who in prison, prison, people who've been in jail, they say, oh, getting letters is wonderful, It's very rare that prisoners do that. As if you'd want to be more cut off than you already were from people on the outside. Hatchie says, John Lennon, I read the news today, oh boy. Oh yeah, I read the news today, oh boy. Was it 1,000 Holes in Blackburn, Lancashire? Which was apparently all about drug abuse, yeah. What a mess it's become, 1984. Good old Eric. George Orwell Blair, yes. No relation to Tony, I'm sure. Divide and fool, says Carrie. Yeah, but is this what's going to happen now? I mean, the NATO admit openly, oh, it's our best mate, Ukraine, it's their fault. They did it accidentally. They didn't mean to drop bombs. They didn't mean to bomb Poland, but they just did it by accident. Normally, that would be they'd use whatever the cause was, whatever the cause of that accidental, that accidental attack. This was it collateral damage. When have they ever been that? When have they ever done that before to Russia? Said, oh, it's okay, and Russia's not to blame this time. When for all these years they've been saying things like, the dodo, that bird that died out, Russian agents did that. Do you know that big volcano that destroyed Pompeii 1,000 years ago? Russian agents. Oh, JD says, I grew up with Jo Cox, formerly Joanne Leadbeater. Yeah, her sister is now MP of Batley and Spen. What's the name of her sister? The one who was giggling at the funeral. Is it Kate Leadbeater? Leadbeater, yeah. It's Jo Cox's sister, though, yeah. Kerry Woolley, rich man's money, poor man's blood. Yeah, that's war for you, isn't it, Kerry? Yeah. Kim Leadbeater. It's Kim Leadbeater, who's MP for Batley and Spen. Hatchie says, "Here, Ben, ain't things ramped up on suppression? KBS will be plugging now." Oh, Kev, I miss Kev Baker so much. Oh, he'd love this. Every time something like this happens, I think to myself, oh, Kev Baker would love this, or Gareth Davis would love this. Gareth would have loved my trip to Hull to the Outer Limits magazine conference, because he'd have laughed so much at it. Kim, thanks, Jaylee. Yeah, Kim Leadbeater. She was, a few people stood against her. I mean, George Galloway did, and a couple of other people, yeah. Vesuvius, Mount Vesuvius, yes, nothing as it seems. A completely harmless volcano that would have done no harm to anyone until the Russian agents got hold of it. Seriously, though, apparently Vesuvius is like heating up a little bit now, yeah. And which could be nasty because it's where Pompeii used to stand. There's Pompeii Herculaneum. There's there's a couple of thousand people there. We now have Naples, and there's 3 million people in Naples. So yeah. Oh, Kev, I miss Kev Baker an awful lot, man. I've lost so many good friends. I really have. And at times like this, I miss them more because I think to myself, what would they say? What would they be doing? It's like, yeah, I really do. Anyone else got any more comments or questions or criticism, constructive or destructive? Because I've sort of run out of my notes now. It's been fun. It's been a fun live stream. I've done two in 2 days. Now, what's coming? There's a lot coming up. Jules miss. Yeah, Jules. I know you miss. Jules, you're in the Discord server, aren't you? He must have been like your best mate. Yeah, you were one of the Wookiees. Oh, he was such a character. He really was. Oh man, I did 70. How many shows did I do with him? Over 70 shows with him. I've got about half of them. Hatchie needs some real go-nows out there, man. Love and respect, Hatchie. Yeah, it's a cruel world, isn't it? Yeah, I thought so, Jules. I thought I recognised you. Yeah, he was like a brother. Yeah, I bet he was. Yeah. I only met Kev once. I met him once at the Glasgow UFO Paranormal Conference, and I met him once. But yeah, Martin says I listened to Jimmy Jeans early on Saturday morning. He's cool, Jimmy. Yeah. Respect, Hugo. Respect. Yeah. Jimmy did a lovely tribute. He did several tribute shows to Kev. Yeah. His best mate. Yeah. Are you familiar with John Warner? Says Jules. I know he's an actor. Kerry Woolley, I stubbed my toe this morning. Russians. No, Jules. There's an actor called. I think it's Edward Warner. I think. Who is John Warner? No, I'm not familiar with John Warner. Kerry Woolley, build back better goons. Oh, bloody. Not the build back better thing. Yeah. Green Sky, heard of a news story of a big cat spotted in Wales? Yes, that's been talked about on the CFZ group. Yeah, I'm sure these things exist. Even Sargon of Akkad believes in them. He's done a video about them. Unfortunately, it's behind his paywall. But Bushcraft Ninja, hello, how are you? White hats, are they real? Do you reckon, Ben? Bushcraft, I'd like to say yes, and of course people accuse me of wishful thinking. Just like I do about the 17th letter. That's something me and Kev could never agree on, the 17th letter. Something weird's going on. Trump announces he's running for president. Then NATO do this incredible climb down on the missile attack on Poland. I mean, what? Why would they do that? It just doesn't make sense. Jules, thanks, Jules. I'll talk to you on Discord. Cool, yeah. He's the son of Senator Mark Warner. Oh! Yes, Jules. I know. Yes, he's involved. Is it TTSA he's involved in? I know he's very close to Chris Mellon. But yes, please do send me. I've already heard a couple of interviews with John Warner. I remember who he is now. But please, but by all means, send me more because he's an interesting chap. He's very highly. He knows Chris Mellon, of course, who's highly involved with all this. He knows Lou Elizondo, who also is highly involved in the whole thing. And he did an interview. I think he did an interview with Stephen Greer. I heard he did. I mean, he's one of the few people on the TTSA side who's willing to talk to Greer. Programming the brain washed. Yes. Oh, right. Jules says Chris Mellon is JS's cousin. Yeah, that's it. There, I knew there was a family connection there. Yeah, and of course Greer is like really. His nose has been put out of joint. Now Greer, as we know, it's pretty obvious from the beginning that Greer had an ego problem, and he's now being really. Greer is now being really, really uppity because suddenly disclosure is not all about him, and so he's brought out a couple of documentaries calling Lou Elizondo a shill, as if that's in any way original, and that Jules, he's local to me. Jules, you actually live near him. You've met him in real life? That'd be quite something if you could get an exclusive with him. I mean, he may say things to you he wouldn't say to other people. If you get to, if you're a neighbour or something like that. Yeah, Jules, I'll talk to you on Twitter, on Discord about that. Yes, here we go. Martin Taylor. Chris Mellon is John Warner's cousin. DJ did 2 interviews with him a few weeks ago. Right. I'll be interested to hear his interviews because I did hear his interview with Greer. I think it was with Greer, and that was very interesting. Bushcraft Ninja. Yes, my voice recovered while I was at Lapis. I think the sea air did it some good. Thanks, Bushcraft Ninja. I was missing I just was really worried about how long that would last because, of course, I do need my voice. It's very important to me. Oh, geez, a couple of hours away, Jules. All right, that's not far, though, is it? That's you could maybe take him out for a couple of beers, see what he'll say when he may loosen his tongue a bit, Oh, Stephen Cambion, right? Jules says Stephen Cambion had an interview with him too, right? Yeah, that might have been where I saw it. I do watch Stephen Cambion quite a lot, although I think he's very unfair. I find him quite annoying, actually. I think he's very unfair, but I do find him quite interesting, and I do find him, I suppose, entertaining. Hi, Rod. How you doing? Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it? Martin Taylor. Watch DJ Ben. John Warner's brilliant, no BS. So who do you mean by DJ? Sorry, I thought you meant not John Warner. Hattie says, misinformed and disinformed. Ben, ain't the media beautiful? I'm looking forward to Phil and Holly tomorrow. Lawful. Where's that breakfast TV? I've hardly ever watched television. I really do, because 99% of it is utter bilge, and the 1% worth watching just ends up online. I have a television in the house, but Ahmat and Hossan watch it. I hardly ever do. Infotaining. Yeah, I mean, I think I've actually made a bit of a. I wrote a couple of articles about Cambion, having a bit of a. Oh, dark journalist, of course. Sorry, Martin Taylor. Dark journalist. Yes, old DJ. Yes, apologies. I was wondering who you meant. Of course, the dark. I like him. Yeah, I like that guy. Has he interviewed Warner too? Right. Yeah, I had a bit of a go at Stephen Cambion because I've written a couple of articles about what he said, because I think he's very unfair. There's a cure, hand remote something, says Kerry Woolley. But thanks, Hugo. Enjoyed the live stream. Hope you catch the next. Yeah, guys, there'll be another. I've got to do a live stream for Moment of Contact. I need to do another UFO disclosure video. I've got some more watch parties planned. I want a watch party for next month. I want to do a Christmas watch party. And I've got a great movie for us to watch, thanks to Jamnoy72. You may guess which one it is. Nothing as it seems. Daniel List. No, I'm as sober as anything. I haven't had a drop. I haven't drunk a drop. Guys, we've been good for 2 hours. You want things to add? Anyone else wants to add anything else? I'm going to call it I'm going to say Nostar Kuskandawel and talk to you again soon. Anyone? Anyone want to add anything? Okay. Actually, Ben, I've got a TV in the house. I'm media fed. Well, just don't overwatch it, mate. Keep it switched off. Creepy vid. I saw Area 51 employee on the run phone call. I think to coast, warning of the dangers to come in humanity. Green Sky. There's a couple of those. Some of them are not real. But is that the one with? If it's a guy with the voice distorted. I think that was a joke. That was a prank. Kerry Woolley, not watched the bullshit box for 11 years. Well done, mate, well done. So, guys, Hugo on his 6th beer, as well as he's had a few spliffs. So, night, Hugo. Daniel List is the Dark Journalist. Apologies. Apologies, Martin. That's his real name, I see. I didn't know that, I just know him as Dark Journalist. Night, Jules. Thank you very much. Much love. Kerry Woolley says, I see reptilian people. Night. Body Technician didn't get a notification that I was going live. Yeah, a lot of people don't, unfortunately. I did send one. I've been sharing as many as I can to people, just so they know. Right, if anyone could tell me there's anything worth watching on TV, I'd be grateful. It's all on. I don't think there's anything, I think. Nothing as it seems. Yeah, the Blavatsky and Steiner. He did a very good. Nothing. He also did a very good interview on John Trump, Dr. John Trump, the uncle of Donald, and his link to Nikola Tesla. Night, David. Night, Della Farrant. David Splendid Isolation User 1. You're welcome. Great live stream. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for the next video, which will be as soon as I can do one. Body Technician. When are you planning to go live again? The next live stream will probably be the Moment of Contact live stream, the third part of the watch party, which will be at some point. I don't know when, but it won't be more than a few days. Night, Hugo. Night. Hope you're all well, and appreciate you tuning in for this second live stream in as many days. I'm a man of my word. I did say if Artemis One launched, I'd do a second live stream, and I've done one. And Green Sky says Blaze is a good channel for UFOs. Yeah. I should got the notice. The notice actually, I've only got one notice, extra notice comments, and that was from Sweet Spox. That was on the notice I did the other day. Who just says here, is it? Jungle Surfer's been having a go at me, and I don't know why. I think probably it's something to do because he says, Ben, don't you know that the Earth is flat? All right. He just says, okay, on the standby here, Ben. A few minutes before 9 p.m. Go for it. Oh right, that's Sweeps. Sweeps did watch the. Sweeps watched last night. I don't know if he's watching this one. He sometimes stays quiet and talks about things later on, but yeah. Martin Taylor, yes, I've not watched DJ. I've watched only about 4, 5 or 6 of his videos, but I like DJ. DJ's good. Dark Journalist is very good. Thanks, Body Technician. Night, Hugo. Thank you, Body Technician. I'm glad you enjoy the channel. Night, Martin Taylor. Night, Hugo. Night, it's all of you. I appreciate it. And Della does. Not a lot of people don't get notifications. That's YouTube for you. A lot of people sometimes say that their comments don't appear. Again, not my fault. It's not in. I have set the spam filter to the lowest level possible, and I don't know why that happens, but it's been fun, guys. Night, Diazepam. Take care, and keep your eye on the Artemis mission. And if there'll be another live stream if they spot UFOs and things like that. Take it easy. Night.